Shut up, compressor. Okay, before I really get into weathering the P-47 cockpit, I've still got two things to deal with. The first of those is the levers for the throttle, which are going to come shortly. The second is this gun sight. Now, it's positioned really what I feel is really far forward. And the reason that it is positioned that way is I was trying to avoid interference with the windscreen, which sits like right here. And when you're installing the gun sight beforehand, it's really tough to account for that sort of angle and interference. And the last thing I want to do is hit a situation where I can't install the windscreen because this thing is in the way. But the way it's positioned right now, it feels like it's really sticking way, way, way out, you know, directly over the control stick, all that kind of good stuff. So I'm trying to think what I can do about this. And I had a bit of inspiration strike. Let's move this over here. So the way that this thing attaches is on the back. There's a little thing that kind of sits right there, and frustratingly, it likes to sit at a, well, I think we can squeeze it to a different angle. But basically, it's a little tiny plastic piece that sits right there in the instrument panel and then kind of goes up, and I've got this super glued to it. And that's just not particularly ideal. So my plan, come out, is instead of that, to kind of break this, more or less. Install a tiny, tiny, tiny piece of roof flashing, this little thing right here, on the bottom of the gun sight. And so this way I can cover sort of like a distance like forward to back, etc. And I think we have a good sense of like, you know, maybe not that far back, but somewhere right in there. And then we will take a magnet, a 1mm by 1mm magnet, which holds quite well to the flashing. I'm almost tempted to do 2x2, but as you can see, this can sit here and hold it. And the idea being that I can install this back piece into the instrument panel, finish off the instrument panel, put everything in. Then when the cockpit is closed and I've got the windscreen installed, I can come in here with tweezers and drop this happy little bastard onto the magnet, and everything will just click into place. That's my hope. If I feel like I need something stronger, I also have, I think these are 2x2. So that's a slightly beefier magnet. I think I might actually go that way because it looks like, you can see it actually, whoa, look at that. So it's a really strong grip, and I think it actually looks better size-wise with that little post. So let's say we're gonna go with that one. So double checking the grip strength on this. Plenty strong. I'm not really particularly worried about, I mean, when I move my feet, when I try to move this and loosen it, it moves the magnet much more easily than it does the piece itself. And then if I wanted to say, oh, I put it in, but it's too, you know, it's too far up, push it and it slides back. So it's positionable like so. So that makes it a lot easier to drop that in after the fact. And in fact, I'm so convinced that this is going to be a great idea that I am going to come in here. If you're a good way to hold this first. And there we have it. do I need to get the super glue off this without damaging everything. All right. So I'm literally just going to come in here, put a bit of glue on this guy. Pick this one up. Okay, so it's not perfect, but it's on the underside. And this thing just pops right off with a bit of force. Just like so. Now it's a matter of coming back here and figuring out what I need to subtract from this in order to get everything fitting properly. It looks like it needs to cut pretty far down, but that's fine. So I'm going to let this sit for a few minutes and come back. Okay, so I've gone ahead and chopped off. Don't focus on that shit. Okay, so I've gone ahead and chopped off the post of the Gunsight mount. I've got that nice little flat area there, and this thing sits perfectly on it. So let's go ahead and say fuck it. Commit to some glue. Okay, that's looking pretty decent. I'm not really willing to hit this with accelerator, and I don't want to yank that off for fear of damaging something in the process. So we're just going to let this sit for a few minutes. So I was trying to figure out where I could possibly set the instrument panel, and then it occurred to me, in the cockpit. It's a great place to hide it. So now let's go ahead and see if this shit fits. Try to do this like I would have to be doing it in a live scenario, so pardon me for testing. All right, come in here. Holy shit! I think he's ready to rip the instrument panel out. Good to know. Oh yeah, that's awesome. You can slide so much further back now, and it looks like it's sitting in a much better position. And I can remove it because magnets.